Episode 3 starts when Wednesday searches for that purple book in the hidden library. Suddenly, someone puts a bag over her head, obscuring her vision. She thought it was party time as she was fond of adventures. A voice comes and says why she breached their sanctum. Suddenly Wednesday realized it was Bianca's voice and asked them to lower their masks as she knew it was her group. Wednesday thought it was some psychotic serial killer who tried to abduct her, but it was an utter disappointment for her that a bunch of high school clowns tried to kidnap her. Xavier asks how did she get down there? Then she tells it was Rowan who showed her and said the picture is in her left pocket where she tracked the watermark from Poe's cup, solved the riddle, and came here. The mermaid from that group asks if there is any riddle to solve for coming to the hidden library. Bianca says Nightshade was an elite social group, emphasizing the word elite. Then they boasted of their adventurous activities being in the Nightshade, but Wednesday asks that she heard it was disbanded some years ago. Xavier admits that it was disbanded as they lost its charter some 30 years ago. Xavier asks them to let her join the club, but Bianca was unwilling due to the humiliating defeat from Wednesday in the Poe Cup. Wednesday says you are furious because I have defeated you in your own game. She says I'm not interested in joining this club, unties herself, and says next time, do some kidnapping practice. Wednesday was wondering how she was responsible for Nevermore's demise. How she was related to that book's picture and sharing an apocalypse with a pilgrim. The next day Principal Weems announced the outreach day would be held on the day of the memorial statue in the town square. It would include performances by Nevermore students. Each student was required to volunteer for the jobs, followed by a community lunch. Everyone was assigned jobs at different shops. They were excited about it. Enid was happy about outreaching with Ajax in the same shop. Wednesday got Uriah's heap. Then Weems came and asked Wednesday to play cello at the event with the Jericho High School marching band at the opening ceremony. She liked her cello. Then kids go into the city for the outreach day, where Wednesday meets with Xavier and asks if he is still stewing on rejecting his invitation to the club. He was angry. She says I'm not part of your Cold War with Bianca, and I have more pressing issues in my head. Xavier says, for example? She replied, to investigate who's behind your former roommate's murder and the monster who killed him. He says for the last time he's just expelled, we all saw him go. Then she asks if he has spoken to him. He says yes, I have texted him but have not heard from him. I think he wants Nevermore in the rear view. Or he's dead, says Wednesday. He says why do you care about him so much? But she says I'm not going to stop here. She shows him that picture and asks if he's not surprised. Seeing that book, he says congratulations, you can add thief to your resume too. Who cares about Nightshade's journal anyway? I saw it on Rowan's desk a few days before the Harvest Festival. She asks if you argued with him, and he threw you against the wall with his telekinesis. He asked how she knew it. She said lucky, guess. He says it's funny what you are doing with Joseph Crackstone in this picture, and this book is almost 30 years old. She asks who he is. He says he's one of Jericho's founding fathers and a big deal here. Then the scene shifts, and we see the mayor coming and greeting the sheriff and introducing his son Lucas to him. Then they exchange their thoughts about the monster thing, but the mayor gets furious about it and says it's a damn bear. Find him and don't point fingers at Nevermore kids as our town depends on their money, even your salary comes from their donations. Weems asks everyone to take their seats, and the mayor goes there and welcomes the crowd. And talks to Nevermore students. The principal asks them to go and do their work and come for lunch at 1:00 p.m. Wednesday asks Enid to switch their volunteer jobs as she wants to see the Pilgrim's World closely. She agrees when she knows Ajax is going to the same place, and both go to their respective places. Wednesday goes to Pilgrim's World. Then a lady comes and greets her, who was original colonists. She asks them to behold as she will take them to the past where Jericho's first pilgrim settlement took place. She shows them a building, the meeting house containing valuable artifacts of people related to Jericho's most beloved founder, Joseph Crackstone, and privy to America's first gender-neutral restroom. Wednesday asks which artifacts were on display, and she tells her about tableware, farm tools and chamber pots. Wednesday asked if she could work there, but the lady stopped her from going there. That area was being renovated, so they had to work at some fudgery. Enid and Ajax were working at Uriah's heap, and the lady there was so creepy, and they wanted to move out of there, but she didn't let them go. Wednesday speaks in German, tells tourists about the fudge's origin, and tries to ruin the business and was happy about that. Eugene was eating fudge when Pilgrim's World students started bullying him. Then Wednesday comes to his rescue, fights with the bullies and helps him. She thinks of him as a pugsley little, weak, crumbling creature. Mayer meets with the principal and congratulates her for the successful outreach day, and Thornell was there too. He appreciates the principal's generous donation. Eugene says nobody stood up for him before because he was weak and had no friends. She says you are like Pugsley, and now follow me. Then they break into the meeting house to know more about Crackstone, and she finds the books and things are fake, not the original ones. She sees the painting where the Crackstone stands in front of a bunch of people, and the girl with a purple book in her hand is standing in the queue, too. This girl was from her visions. She wonders what secrets the Crackstone was hiding. The Lady Arlene was spying on Wednesday, and she asks Bianca where Wednesday was hithered. She says Wednesday was hithered where she shan't be. So the Lady Arlene goes to the meeting house and catches them red-handed. But Wednesday questions about the originality of things in the meeting house and says these were from some Etsy and you people charge $29 for the fake things. Lady gets confused and says she's here since April and doesn't know about the original meeting house. Enid is at Uriah's heap and talks to Ajax, and a strange older man comes to the shop. Enid asks what he wants, but he goes away. Then she tells him tonight's plan of going out to a blue moon and talks about the charms of it. But Ajax cannot understand what she wants to talk about. Then she openly tells her that I'm asking you out tonight. Wednesday then comes to the cafeteria where Xavier was working as a volunteer and asks about Tyler's whereabouts. Tyler comes and asks what she wants. She asks about the original meeting house from a map. Tyler tells her that the meeting house was in some ruins, and they were tricky too, and going there could be risky. Still, she says she would be here at the great statue ceremony and knows her ways. Tyler asks if she is some Girl Scout. She says she could eat one for breakfast, and she had an uncle who went to prison for this. She goes to the ruins, finds the meeting house, and talks with Hand. The older man from Uriah's heap comes and tries to scare her as if it was his shelter, but Hand attacks him and freaks him out. He tries to escape from there and runs away. Wednesday keeps looking for some clues, but nothing comes. Thing asks her to talk to her mother, but she refuses. Then Thing says to touch things to get some visions, but touching things didn't help her. She thinks that visions are unpredictable as sharp attacks. She touches the ruin's main door. Suddenly, she sees some visions. There was clamor and shouting. A girl was panting, and everyone was shouting to burn her. They called her Devil's Spawn, witch. Then Crackstone came, addressed her as Goody Addams, and told her that you have been judged before God and found guilty. You are a witch, a sorceress and Lucifer's mistress herself, and you will burn tonight. Goody Addams says I'm innocent, and you should be tried. We lived in harmony with nature and people, but you invaded our lands and killed the innocents. You are a true monster, all of you. Then she rose from the ground and sliced Crackstone's cheek with a sharp knife. Crackstone slaps her, locks her up in a room with other outcasts, curses them, and says, I will send you people back to hellfire, and sets them ablaze. All the roomies were chained to the ground. Only Goody Addams was unchained and tried to unchain her mother but couldn't free her. Her mother says go away. Run for your life, my lamb, save your future generations, run as fast as you can. Then she runs from there and jumps from the room. Wednesday searches for her and sees Goody Addams coming from another direction and says he won't stop until he kills us all. Then she says he's here, and Crackstone comes and says there's no escape for you tonight. And then Wednesday comes to her consciousness, and it is raining. She is drenched in rainwater, speaks with Hand, and says the girl from my visions is Goody Addams, and she's my ancestor from 400 years ago. The chilling wind blows, and the monster comes. Wednesday runs from there and sees the human footprints turning into monster footprints and gets the idea that the monster is human. Xavier comes there, and she says the monster is human. I have seen footprints, but they were washed up by rainwater. They talk about Rowan, and he says you are right about him, and he's all weird. He asks her why she went to the meeting house first, and she says she wants to know about Joseph's cracked stone. He says you are using your psychic abilities to know about him. She asks how you know about that. He says, it's a lucky guess. When did you start having them? She says about a year ago. She told about her experience of having them, and Xavier told her that his dad's a psychic too, and he would tell you that visions aren't rooted to logic and are triggered by emotions. He says Joseph Crackstone was about 400 years ago, and he was a piece of shit. That's nothing to fear about it now. But she says she won't rest until she finds out who he is, and she believes Rowan and something is going to happen. She wasn't afraid of anything, but it was before she experienced Crackstone cold sour eyes. She believed in revenge, and when the ceremony started, the mayor gave a speech about Joseph Crackstone and his achievements and talked about Nevermore, and the band started their ceremonial music. The mayor clicks on a button, and Joseph Crackstone's statue starts sprinkling water. The hand starts moving under the chairs and fires a matchstick. Fire moves slowly in a line where the band plays musical tunes, and Wednesday starts playing cello, too, and the statue catches fire in an explosion. She was playing cello with a happy face. Principal Weems saw this scene from a distance and saw her contented face. She called her into her office the next day and inquired about her involvement in the incident and was furious at her. But Wednesday said her hands were clean and she would lead the inquisition with the principal if needed. She hadn't known about it, but Weems says I don't have a piece of hard evidence, but you are a troublemaker. Wednesday says if trouble means standing up to lies and centuries of treating outcasts as second-class citizens. Why was there an outreach day? Or was she denying Jericho's history with the outcasts and the story behind Crackstone? She said to some extent she had an idea. Then Wednesday said why she wants to forget history and wants a normie outcast relationship. She says maybe we can rewrite the wrongs of history, but Wednesday says they still hate us, and they sugarcoat it with smiles and platitudes. Either you write history, or they would do it, you can't have it both ways. Then Weems says good night, Miss Addams. The older man was getting churned by the monster in the woods. Wednesday was using the typewriter, and Enid was preparing for her date. Eugene was investigating his beekeeping. Thornell was moving into a hidden library. Ajax was getting ready for a date with Enid, and his towel moves out of the mirror, and he gets stoned himself. Wednesday, still typing Rowan's drawings of me and Crackstone, can happen sometime in the future, and Goody Adams's warnings about the Crackstone are in the past, and the monster is here in the present. 3 coincidences that she knew were connected somehow. Principal Weems was tearing a page from a book of Morticia's picture and rolling that into the fire. That monster could be anyone. The sheriff thinks that it is hiding behind the walls of this school, but the truth is the monster is everywhere, and it can be that one which we least suspect is the dangerous one with no claws and teeth. They hide in shadows and strike when no one is looking. Still, I'm looking now and will only stop once I find the truth.